Welcome to the Play Skillfully podcast. I am your host, Kathy Eggers, and we are here to talk about ways to cultivate connection and the wonder of learning with our children. Hey, grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine because this is going to be good.
All right, guys, we are in for a treat today on the Play Skillfully podcast. We have got I don't even know, the coolest ladies already, I can tell. So with us today, all the way from New Zealand, we have Melissa. I'm going to let her fully introduce herself. And then Esther, you're in the UK?
Yep, that's right.
Is that right? Yeah. So look at us, an international podcast. I love it. So, and I'm in little bitty old Alabama. I live on a lake in Alabama, and I love that too. You might notice just if you're watching our video, I had to put on my greenstone because my husband's from New Zealand. So I am celebrating all of that with you today. So ladies, I want you to take a minute, introduce yourself to us. Tell us just who you are and kind of what led you to this homeschooling journey in the first place. So Melissa, we'll start with you.
Okay. Kia ora koutou. I'm Melissa Crockett-Joyoue, and I am based in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I live close to our largest city, but in a rural coastal area. I have a nearly 8-year-old girl, Hene Marie, and I have my son, Tumanako, is 10 and a half, roundabout. Our journey to unschooling basically came about. I was very invested in our small local school. I went on the school board. I was organising fundraisers and promotions for them and so on because I wanted it to be a fantastic little school by the time my kids got there. Just before, my son was always a little different, super bright and super enjoyed hanging out with adults a lot. But when we got to time to come to school, about 18 months beforehand, I actually had 3 heart attacks related to breastfeeding my baby daughter. And so it was a very traumatic time for the family. They were near fatal, and he was there for 2 of them. And I had major heart surgery. So when it came time for him to go to school, he seemed to have very severe separation anxiety, which was, not to be unexpected. Saying it right way around. And he basically was a school refuser from the very beginning. He did not want to be separated from me. We'd done attachment style parenting before that, and he had quite severe food allergies. So he'd done some early childhood from sort of age 3, very play-based. He wouldn't go inside at preschool, which now we know was a sensory thing because we've eventually had an autism, ADHD, and gifted diagnosis. So that was a big part of the picture too. It was very multi-layered, and we didn't really know what was going on. We just thought it was all a lot of trauma. So basically from day one, he refused to go in the school door, and, we were very highly encouraged to get him to school and he would be fine. And that we persevered for pretty much a year, but it was also during COVID. And so we were having lockdowns and so on, and we noticed that any time that he was at home, his anxiety was a lot reduced, and he really struggled at school because he had a very spiky profile. So he had extreme skills in some areas and very difficult challenges in other areas. I wanted to homeschool her. At that point, we knew it was going to be in our future, but because of my quite severe PTSD, we didn't think that we were going to get to it for quite a while, and we wanted to keep him in school. But once COVID came around and we could see the difference in him being at home, we decided that his mental health we could fix me up later. We didn't want to mess him up from the start. So we decided that we would do homeschool, and I kind of panicked about how am I going to cope with this. And pretty much the same day that my spouse and I made the decision to homeschool, I rang a friend or messaged her and was like, who was homeschooling, who was actually unschooling, and said, I don't know what to do. How am I going to cope with this? And I really valued her input because she was a psychologist and lectured in psychology. So she's very, very smart and very educated and researched. And she said, read these essays by famous unschooling person, Carol Black. And I read them, and within a day we were unschooling.
And just like that.
That is the short version.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I love that you just had the commitment to just say, whatever it takes, we're going to do it from the get-go. I do think there's so many families who are faced with those decisions, and their fears or, could be financial, all these reasons that they can't pull the trigger and do it. So I love that you were able to say, okay, we've got difficulties, but we're going to plow through and we're going to do that. That's lovely. And I can't wait to hear more about that. Esther, what about you? Tell me about you. And I don't know anything. So fill me in.
Yeah, so my children are now 20, 18, and 13. And about 10 years ago, we were living in Spain, where they were all born in Spain near Barcelona. And from the beginning, with my eldest, we found like a really alternative kind of preschool that was lovely. It was very child-centered, very kind of emotionally mature kind of space that really held the children well. So both my sons went there. And then when it came to kind of school time, we found it really hard. I already knew that it felt really uncomfortable to me, even though I didn't really kind of have words to put around it. And we found a really alternative school, primary school, which was really in kind of an unschooling school. But it was just starting, so I kind of had some teething problems. But anyway, so we were there for a few years, and after maybe about 3 years, and it never quite was what we would hoped it would be. There was just a sense that they didn't always want to go. It just wasn't really flowing. And at one point we just thought, well, let's try something else. There was also some language around it all that I was finding very difficult, the sort of deficit language around the children. And a sense of really needing to conform, even in this very alternative space. A real need that this child needs to be like this. And I just felt so uncomfortable with that. And that is just not what I wanted. So there was something intuitive, like you said earlier. There was some intuitive piece of me that said, no, I want something else. Again, I didn't have the language to put around it. And so we took them all out, and we just sort of, we kind of rearranged our lives and just sort of jumped into it, really. There was no one, I didn't know anybody homeschooling, unschooling, or anything in Spain. It was quite unheard of. People thought we were completely mad. Because I was foreign, I kind of got away with it. They were like, oh, it's that funny English woman who she does things strangely anyway, you know? So it was a little bit lonely, to be honest with you. We had some great friends, but there was no community as such. But then we just had this it was kind of an adventure of a couple of years where we just kind of did our own thing. And they blew me away with what they were doing and their interests and who they were. And when I wasn't trying to make them be something else, and I just observed them and really kind of sunk into that. I started a blog to kind of digest it and write about it. And I also was aware of all my own real struggles with it, of allowing this to happen in this way. And we came across the word unschooling at some point in that year. I think it was Pamela Rickia, made Peter Gray's book, Free to Learn. And then the pieces all started falling in place. So that was our journey, really. And
I love that.
Since then.
And I love, again, like you said, the intuition. I do think there are so many parents who really see, or want something different for their children. They're like, this isn't working. This traditional schooling isn't working, but they're not really sure then what that means. And I think with unschooling, it's one of those, I almost call it a buzzword, kind of like gentle parenting or something today. It's a buzzword that definitely is not understood by the general public. So how would you describe unschooling? What is it?
Can I jump in? Yeah. Well, for me, I think it is, everyone will come up with their definition, but I think it is simply allowing a child to live as their full selves with agency, with autonomy, and holding them in a safe space to do that. So it's really being in relationship, in partnership with our children, so we can discover them rather than make them be something. Obviously, we can't take away the fact that we will influence them, but how can we discover this person and allow them to grow into the person that they want to become? So to me, that's what unschooling is. It's a relationship more than an education style. And Melissa and I often joke, particularly in the summit, that we rarely talk about learning. It's all about relationship, and it's about agency, and it's about trust and consent. The learning is the piece that is the least problematic, let's say. It's the piece that falls into place because children are born to learn. So if we can, but we have to get the other pieces right.
Couldn't agree with that more. Maybe I wasn't unschooler. I just didn't label it correctly, because that's exactly how I taught my children, or I didn't teach my children, I should say.
Yeah.
But I just finished editing a podcast, and it was all about the connection and the relationship and really just getting out of the way and helping the children become who they were already meant to be, not who we think they are meant to be. So I love that definition. Melissa, is yours the same, or do you have a little different take on it?
I think for us, it's about the children having that real agency. And for me, excuse me, with my children, it's about allowing them to have autonomy, to have tino rangatiratanga or manu matuhaki, which are like Māori expressions for sovereignty over themselves and the ability to choose and direct. I think one of the really key parts to it as well, though, that I've learned over the years, especially hanging out with people like Esther and talking to all of the amazing speakers and so on, because remember, I'm only like 4 years in or so I'm still
Right.
really fresh for this journey.
Yes.
Is one of the things that we find in the unschooling journey is that intuition part starts coming in really strongly. And it's about realizing that our children, if they haven't been in the school system for a long time, haven't had that taken out of them a lot of the time. And they haven't got the kind of schoolish thinking placed over them and this whole kind of external seeking for motivation and reward and so on. So a lot of unschooling is actually deschooling ourselves as parents and actually kind of removing that
100%.
veil and starting to see, well, I've always done this way because my parents did, or that's what I did at school. And actually, does it need to be done that way? And so our children are our guides in that a lot, because they don't have these preconceived notions about how things should be, and they will challenge us. And as Esther says, actually, they shine a light on the bits of us that need all the work. But most of unschooling is actually us as adults and as parents deschooling ourselves and removing the lens that we have kind of had and considering whether we could look at things a different way.
Yeah, as I travel and speak at homeschool conferences all over, and that is probably one of the things I talk about the most, more than anything with the children, is that evaluation of yourself and what beliefs do you come into this with and what expectations, and really just kind of, we even do, one of the things I do is we even do this process in the session of just kind of clearing that, like just seeing how you can visualize a blank slate again, if you will, so that you could start fresh with that. So I love both of those definitions. Did you have any fears when you started? Did you have this like, oh, this sounds great, but Melissa, did you have any?
Oh yeah, still do. I mean, I think, it's still, as much as anything is an experiment, but I've realized that putting them in school for us would be a more dangerous experiment for my children's mental health. But yeah, it's leaping off into the unknown, every day, really. That's where that trust piece comes in, because otherwise you've kind of got nothing holding you,
Yeah.
And also hearing other people's stories is so important. And that's part of the summit, and it's why I lent into Esther's podcast. When we first started unschooling, I felt very stuck. We didn't have a curriculum. So it takes a lot of very intense observational parenting and soul searching.
Yes.
If you have a curriculum, you know what you're doing. Someone else is somewhat responsible for what they're going to learn. With unschooling, it's very much on you. And so that can give you a lot of wobbles, particularly if your partner, husband, etc., is willing for you to do it, but it's on you, which is the case for a lot of families. One parent does a lot of the research and does all of the listening to podcasts and hearing the success stories and working things out and researching, and the other one's off to work or off to whatever. And so I think there is a lot of holding that you're doing as the kind of primary parent that's doing it, because it does feel like a lot of responsibility and a lot of unknowns. That is
Definitely a fear.
There's always, you want the best for your kids. You absolutely want the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Esther? Did you have some fears going in, making that big switch?
Lots. I did. I had all those voices about what I should be doing if we weren't busy in a day. I felt terrible, like, oh, we haven't done anything. I had a lot around doing, because I was a real doer, a bit of a perfectionist. So I had to really undo all of that for myself. I also found it difficult to understand what they would do later in life. So I had some fears around what that would look like.
Yeah.
But the fears, I don't have any fears now. We have moments where I don't know what to do. I have parenting moments. We have relationship moments where I feel a bit stuck, but I never have a fear for the future, because I see them, as Melissa said, as sovereign beings who know themselves. And I think once you start seeing those pieces fall into place, then the fears kind of start to go, because you see what they're capable of.
Yeah, I agree. My youngest is 19 now. My oldest is in his 40s. And so
wow.
I homeschooled for 30 years. And
Wow.
have 10 kids. And so it is interesting to see just how different they all are now and what they're doing. But I will say they all are pursuing their own dreams. And I do see, and some are still figuring it out. I've got a 25-year-old who's still, he's kind of hopping around. He's been at the ski slopes. He's even talked about moving to New Zealand. He's done some things, but I love that. I love that he feels the freedom to still try and figure it out, that he's not feeling this pressure that he's defeated because he's 25 and doesn't have the plan.
Right.
So even celebrate with him. So I think you're right into the just releasing a lot of that fears. Okay. I know we brought you on to talk about the summit, so I've got to get to it because I don't want you to feel like we haven't talked about it. And I'm excited to learn. Tell us, what is this Unschooling Summit? How did it come to be? What is going on? Fill us in. Esther, you go.
Okay. Well, I can't quite remember how it came about now. I'm sure Melissa's got a better memory. But at some point, Melissa and I, who've never actually met, and we live at the opposite sides of the world, decided it would be a good idea to do a summit together.
That's
That was
awesome.
the year before last, I guess now. Was that right? Yeah, it would be.
I decided,
And we just felt this real, through Melissa's work with her online community, my work with my podcast. I was writing a book as well about unschooling. And it felt like we really got that sense that people want community, people want to learn from each other. And we just thought how beautiful it would be to bring all these amazing people together. And so that was where it was that was the seed. And then we started reaching out to people, and the response was so amazing, and people were so generous with their time, and that it just sort of mushroomed and became this incredible experience last year. We had, I can't even remember how many people, we had about 6,000 people came to the summit online. We had 24 speakers. We had about 40 parents taking part in the round table sessions. It was just amazing. It was a beautiful experience. And so we started it really to share, to connect. Yeah, Melissa, anything else I've missed there?
Yeah.
No, I think for me in those early days when I felt really stuck, I used to listen to Esther and Pam's podcast on, plenty of episodes. So for me, it was about hearing these voices. For newer unschoolers, it was about being able to hear the voices of experience, and for more experienced ones, it was like, what can we offer where you actually get an opportunity to get in and hear like a deep kind of conversation. Having the kind of the interactive sessions that we did with roundtables with seasoned parents meant that everyone could jump into the Zoom and ask questions in the chat and so on. So we wanted to create opportunities for connection and for community, and to really show that unschooling is not this kind of radical niche little off to the side thing, but actually that it is legitimate, and there's people who've been doing it for years and years and years and have grown children who are very happy, adults, and I assume most of them are, but to really kind of show the legitimacy of it, and to enable people at all different stages of that journey to kind of feel community and to dig more deeply into it. So I think we had 21 different countries attend, which was really exciting for us, because we really wanted it to not just be kind of a North American and UK based focus thing. So it was really lovely to have a really broad audience. And I think we had, 10 or more different countries represented, more than that even, maybe, in the speakers. So this year it's grown exponentially. Part of the way I think it grew so quickly, I joke about this, but it's actually the truth is we are on pretty much exactly opposite times of the day, Esther and I. And so one of us always wakes fresh with fresh morning energy and ideas, and we slept on it. Come up with some crazy new scheme or some crazy new speaker. Well, not new speaker, not crazy, but like, oh, how about this person? And the other person's at the end of the day and quite tired and says, well, look, if that's what you want to take on that part, go for it.
Yeah,
and so
you do it.
Snowball. But one of us has always got energy, and it's actually been quite amazing because I think that we bounce off each other really well, and we're very aligned on how we want it to be. So that's been fantastic. But yes, this year we've got 50 speakers, and some of them are on we've done some conversations where we have like 3 speakers along with us all at the same time. We've got 6 speakers who are doing like an hour-long session, and then we've got 24 30-minute like more focused topic interviews as well. And we're kind of theming it into new parents and experience digging deeper Indigenous themes and so on. So we've got some talks will fit across a number of different themes. So we're very excited, and we're going to have 9 live sessions again of roundtables, and we're going to have 3 workshops and also some community networking sessions this time as well. So it's kind of, is juggernaut the right word, Esther? I'm not sure if that's the right word or not, but it's, yeah.
Works.
Yeah. Wow, that is incredible. And listen, I will tell you, being in the homeschool community for so long, community is what is needed. I can't even say bombarded is probably the right word. After I speak, women are just desperate for someone to understand what they're going through. Men too, not to single out women, but that is the majority of who's doing the schooling. But they're desperate for someone to understand and to see them and to hear them and to acknowledge their struggle. So I'm sure you are meeting such a great need by offering that and niching it so well with the unschooling philosophy. And I think it's important that you're helping people truly understand what that looks like. And because I do think there's a lot of misunderstanding around that term. So I love that you're clarifying that with some powerful speakers. Tell us some of the speakers that you're excited about. You've got a big list. I looked through them. So share some of those with us. One of my favorite, Peter Gray.
Can I jump in with my? I had Peter Gray. I had Manish Jain yesterday, and he's amazing. He's an Indian, like an absolute leader in the Indian unschooling movement. He's been doing self-directed education organizations for 30 years. And he travels internationally speaking. He's setting up unschooling type universities in jails and farming ones in remote communities and ecoversities. He's working in the Amazon forest and all sorts. He's Harvard educated, used to work for UNESCO and USAID and the World Bank. And then he just walked away from all of it and went and learnt at his grandmother's knee, unschooled his own daughter, and he is an absolute, just a force. So that interview is just absolutely fascinating. So yeah, that's been a real highlight for me so far.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have Peter Gray, who's talking about how he sees the future of education. We have Akila S. Richards, who's phenomenal and a phenomenal speaker. We have Naomi.
Sorry, she's speaking on grief and joy.
Oh, that's right. Yes, grief and joy. Yeah, we have a lot of kind of human themes entwined there. You know, it's not just about what unschooling is or how to unschool. There's a lot of just like what it is to be human, what it is to coexist with our children.
I think we need that right now.
I think so. We do need that right now.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. Yeah. And that kind of stripping back of the systems and saying, well, how can we live best? So we also have Naomi Fisher, who a lot of people maybe with neurodivergent children might know of her. Who else do we have? Well, Pamela Rickiam, who... Yeah. Pam is an old favorite of mine because she was the first person I came across really who talked about unschooling. And she used it with the word joyful. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. This sounds good. I'll listen to her.
And we have Sue Patterson, who is new for us this year, unschooling mom to mom. So she's a big American one. Yeah, we have 50.
There's so many.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a strong neurodivergent theme. So I run an online community for families who are unschooling neurodivergent kids and teens. And so that's kind of been a bit of a passion area for me. And we do find that a lot of families that are unschooling have children that are, outside of the kind of neurotypical ways of being, I guess. And so unschooling is, fantastic for neurodivergent kids as well. So it is quite a strong thing.
Melissa, what's the name of that community, your neurodivergent community?
Weave, like to weave flax or a basket. Weave ND for short for neurodivergent. And so that's supporting families who are on this journey. Can be even more isolating if you have neurodivergent kids who are in school burnout or refusal and refusing to leave the house, etc. So
yes, that's excellent.
And
Esther, were you going to jump in on that?
Sorry. Yeah. A lot of neurodivergent children. Yeah. I mean, we really have just a real offering for so many. We've tried to really create something where there's something for everyone. And it doesn't really matter if you've just started or you're 10 years in, you might find the same things interesting. And again, like we were saying before, Kathy, trying to delve into that, what it means to be human, to be whole, to have agency in life. These themes that feel so important, particularly now, that always have been, but they do feel particularly important now. And so we've got some real deep thinkers. Also, Bayo Akomolafe, some people might have heard of him. He's a phenomenal thinker on all of this. Just some really beautiful voices what we hope also people will go away with, like, right, I hadn't thought of it like that. Bringing some new depth to it.
So if someone's not an unschooler, but they're listening to this going, oh my
Definitely.
goodness, this sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
You would say, come on, right? Because I'm
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about being human. It's about how can we best live.
Listen, and one thing I will also say, Esther and Melissa, after being in this community for so long, I talk to a lot of adults who are homeschooled, traditionally homeschooled, who don't have a relationship with their families anymore, who have walked
Wow.
away because the focus was on the wrong thing. The focus was so on trying to replicate school and academics, and the relationship, the human piece was left out. And it has actually caused damage to these children who are now adults.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage someone, if their goal in homeschooling is to raise an adult who is well-rounded socially, emotionally, physically, not just cognitively, this sounds like it is the thing you're going to need to help you on your journey. Because for me, that was definitely the goal. It was so much more, like you said earlier, the academics, the learning pieces, it's just so minuscule in the big picture.
Absolutely.
So I love this focus that you're having on this.
I've spoke to homeschooling friends and, put it in Facebook groups, etc., to say this is the whole relationship and the unpacking things for parents side of it, I think. We have Joyful Maths, which is a lovely English woman, former head of maths, high school maths, called Ruth Rinaldi, and she is an unschooler who teaches Joyful Maths. But the whole session is about helping parents look at their own maths anxiety and trauma and how that affects their kids. Those are the kinds of, if we're going down a kind of academic or a learning perspective within parts of it's going to be that side. So it's really relevant for all kinds of homeschoolers. We also have I have friends who are not homeschooling who were like, wow, this stuff's amazing. Like, you don't have to be homeschooling or unschooling. And we're not saying like everyone should come, but just there are themes in there that are like Esther says, they're human, they're parenting, their relationship themes. So I think that there is, just some beautiful, we're so excited to bring it. It's just so many gifts.
It really does sound as if it's an event that could change someone. Truly, in the whole trajectory of their parenting and their homeschooling. So I am excited about that for you. What would you say? I'm just thinking about these young moms who listen to this Play Skillfully podcast, and they're not even sure where they land. They thought they were following the traditional path, and now they're hearing you talk, and they're like, oh my goodness, is this something I need to lean into? What advice would you give a young mom listening and thinking about this type of education or lifestyle, I guess?
Shall I jump in, Melissa? Yeah. I think that I would say the most important thing is always your relationship with your child, always. And I think the thing to look out for is when the education system or whatever you're thinking you'll do starts to come between you and your child, or you start to have to impose something, or you start to have to make something happen with them. There are children who may thrive within a certain place for a while. I think there are still issues with the system that rewards, on tests and things. I think there's still a lot there. But I would also say I just want to have a lot of kind of kindness in the sense that don't be hard on yourself if you can't do it right now. If your circumstances are such that you would say, oh, I wish I could, but I can't. That's okay too. Like, the most important thing in all of this is your relationship with your child. And so I would keep looking at that, and I maybe would read a little bit more. I would listen to some voices. I would just start gradually exploring, particularly if you've got a young child, you've got time on your side, there's no rush. And I would just explore and see what lands with you, see what makes you think, oh yeah, that's right for me. Don't worry about labels. We call it unschooling because it's helpful to give it a name and we all recognize that word. But I would say don't worry about the label.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to add as well that there's also that part to it as well, like you said, that we did, Kathy, where we just decided we needed to leap in. Our instincts told us that we needed to do this. Now, we weren't in a good financial position at all. We took a real hit. We have to live very simply and so on. There's sometimes our times where you can just make the choice to do it. You might think, I hear a lot, oh, I'm not cut out for that. I'm not cut out to be at home with my kids all day, etc. It's hard. It's not all running through forests and, writing kids sitting in the forest writing a novel, like it's not, it's really hard. It's extreme parenting because you're having to do so much examining of yourself and you're with them all the time.
Yes.
And there's different ways of doing it. Like also, if you're in cities or certain areas, there'll be lots of unschoolers together or homeschoolers and, they can do programs and things if that's what the kid wants to do. There's also so much joy in it, and that's what relationships about, you face a lot of hard stuff, but you actually work through it. And when your children are at home, you're not just getting so in New Zealand, school is like roughly 9 till 3. You're not getting the 3 p.m. till bedtime where they're hyped up and they've been at school all day and it's really intense. Your relationship with your kid is across the whole week, and so I think a lot of people say, oh, I'm not cut out for that. I couldn't be at home with my kids all day. I'd have no time to myself. But actually, when you're unschooling, you can run 2 international companies. I'm doing at the moment, sort of. So I've got the Unschooling Summit and I've got my own online community as well. And I do it from my kitchen bench with my laptop and my kids. If I'm lucky, I escape to a caravan in the garden, and my parents or my mum, my partner, or someone else has the kids for a few hours. But most of the time, I'm just there with them, and they see me working, and they interrupt, and I have to tell them to be quiet because I'm trying to organize something for Instagram, and they're in on it, and life just happens. That's what unschooling is. It's life happening together, and you're modeling, and you're learning from them, and they're learning from you. So I think there's a lot of like, oh, wait till the time is right. That I think I would try and put that aside if I could. And also conversely, if you have teenagers and you're like, they've only got 2 more years at school, creating an unschooling last couple of years for them where they can drive their own learning and what they're passionate about. And you can repair relationship during that time and trust them and support them is really, really powerful as well, even if you only have a couple of years to create that autonomy for them.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, since all of mine have gone through that stage, those teenage years were some of my absolute favorite to watch them pursue their passions and watch them take on things from, we rescued horses to my daughter started baking to a son who's been obsessed with sports from day one and is now a manager at a basketball at his SEC school. Let me ask you this. Where can they follow? I want them to be able to follow you individually. Esther, I want to be able to hear about your podcast. So tell us that. And then absolutely tell us where they can sign up for this
Sure.
Homeschooling Summit.
Yeah, so they can find everything that I have on my website, which is esther-jones.com. The podcast is called The Unschool Space. And I do also have a book that came out last August, which is the Parent's Handbook to Unschooling Yourself. So for anyone who is in that space and needing to let go and unraveling, that's really a mindful guide to that, with lots of practical ways and stories from people that I've interviewed and from my own life as well. Yeah, so that's the podcast and the website. And then on Instagram, estherjones.unschooling, if that's where you are.
Perfect. All right, Melissa, what about you?
Okay. Probably the easiest way is, so my community is a Mighty Networks community. So there is a landing page there where you can come and get some information and register if you're interested. So that is, I had to look it up. I was like getting my phone. I can never remember the address. www.weave-community.mn.co. So Weave-community, and the MN is Mighty Networks.
And I'll put links. I'll go find all these and put them in the show notes. So they'll have that.
Sure. And then it's Weave_ND on Instagram. And then for the Unschooling Summit, that is www.theunschoolingsummit, and it's .org, O-R-G. So the unschoolingsummit.org. Yeah. And
now we haven't even said the date. It's coming up in March. So it's March 20th through 22nd. So it's something that's live, but it's also something they can get later. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So it's all free online. During the summit, it is available. And because of all of our time zone challenges, every day's worth of content is live for 48 hours. So it actually stretches a bit longer because we give. So if something goes up at 8 a.m., it's available till 2 days later at 8 a.m., just depending on where in the world you are and what time zone you're on, but they're all live for that long. And we release our pre-recorded interviews, which is what we're working on now. So you get a bunch of them each day that you can go on anytime during that 48 hours and watch. And then we have 1 workshop and 3 live roundtables each day of the summit that happen live. And so those for the US, who I assume is most of your audience would be the US, those are from I think around 11 a.m. or 12 noon Pacific time each day. So they're going to run across the afternoon for the US, those live sessions. That's quite convenient for you guys, hopefully.
There'll also be a community session. Every day there'll be a community session for an area of the world. So there'll be a US, a kind of UK, Europe,
Oh, I love that. Okay.
and beyond.
Yeah. And we have a Facebook community as well. It's open. We open that as soon as registration opens. So we had about 1,200 people in there last year, super active, all times of the day and night, because of course we're all over the world. So there's that happens as well. And then so that entire thing is free, but people can also purchase the recordings and bonuses that have been supplied by different speakers and panelists that are unschooling related. Yeah, so those are for purchase during and after the summit.
It sounds absolutely phenomenal. I am so impressed with you ladies that you have put this together, and I am so excited to get to share it. So as we wrap up, I love to ask my guests if they have a favorite childhood memory of their own when they were growing up. So Esther, do you have anything you'd be willing to share, a favorite childhood memory?
I do, and I was thinking about this today, and it's not one memory. It's more of it's a kind of a collection of a time when just growing up, and it's about the weekends where my family, although I went to school, my family was pretty unschooly. And I just remember my weekends I always had things to do. I always knew I loved animals, so I sort of collect animals. I was always sort of getting on with busy things, and there was always something I loved. And we had quite a lot of freedom to do these things. And so I was just thinking that spaciousness of being a child and that exploratory space that I was used to. And I have to say that unfortunately clashes with the Monday morning feel where I would wake up and go, oh no, it's all come to an end. I would have this terrible feeling I had to wait till the whole weekend came around and relax into my space again. So I guess that was when I was, I'm going to say that was kind of thinking like, 7 years and upwards. That was kind of, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Those
wanted
are
to
good
comment
memories.
on the Monday morning thing. Is my children, I realized recently, didn't understand all of the kind of jokes around Monday mornings. They didn't understand that recently. And the Timon was reading Garfield Hates Mondays, and he was like, "Why does he?" Like they
I
couldn't
love
understand
that.
why they
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Mondays. Yeah, it was really cool. My one, I've been thinking, I had a pretty idyllic childhood. We grew up on a beach in the far north where my Maori ancestry was from, where we're connected to from up there. And my dad was a very lazy commercial fisherman. And my mum worked at the school, which was next door, like across the field from where we lived. So I did have a very idyllic childhood, and I spent a lot of just free time on the beach. But one memory that really stands out for my childhood is that when I was about somewhere around between 6 and 8, at school, so it's a school memory, but we all got put on school buses and taken to beach about 20 minutes away, and a whole pod of dolphins had beached themselves. And so they were pilot whales, actually. They were whales. And so we had to be in the water with them, keep them wet for hours while they were there for the
Wow.
test. And so I think
That's amazing.
that was an incredible memory that I have from being a child, and we were putting towels on them and pouring water on them for hours. So that was
Wow.
actually a school memory. So that's kind of curious.
Pretty
but,
amazing. Yeah.
That was an incredible thing to experience.
Those are both pretty lovely, though. I love hearing the stories, and it always just confirms my belief that it's the small everyday moments that make the difference. Those are the ones that we remember. We remember those intentional times, but they're usually as you go, as you're living. They're not some grand thing that we've done. Even though I don't know the whales, that's pretty grand.
Sorry.
All right, well,
I think they busted. Yes.
but it did just happen. Yes.
The other option was painting. I used to get seashells from our beach, paint them or colour them in, and then I'd put them back on the beach and watch the tourists find them. So maybe that one's more.
That one's pretty good too. Those are both great. Well, it has been a pleasure to get to chat with you and get to know you. I'm so excited about the summit, and I hope these moms here that listen to this podcast jump on this opportunity, because it sounds like it is a wealth of information and encouragement. So I really appreciate you being here and telling me all about it.
Thank you,
Kathy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Play Skillfully podcast. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite listening platform. Check out our products at kathyeggers.com. And if you want to save 10% on your first order, put in the code PS Podcast at checkout. And lastly, find a way to say yes today.